Hey Bloor Central, welcome to our worship package for July 19th. I know you weren't expecting to see me, but we're mixing some things up this week, so I'm just going to give us a few announcements before we throw it over to the Hammond boys for the rest of the service. First thing, I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do this by one of two ways. You can either click the link in the description below, or you can search Bloor Central on youtube.com and subscribe there. I would encourage you to do this. When we reach 100 subscribers, it will make it significantly easier to reach people who can't view these videos on Facebook. Secondly, I want to invite you to 2 Zoom calls this week. One we have on Tuesdays is a coffee break at 1:30, and the second is a prayer meeting on Thursday at 7. We are not doing our Wednesday Bible study this week, but those will resume later on in the summer. Lastly, I want to invite you to check out our Connect videos on Fridays. These are a great way to just interact and know what's going on in the community. We missed one this past week, but we got something very special coming up, so be sure to check that out on Friday. I'm going to pass it over to Doug now for Thanksgivings. I think I see him just down there biking. Doug!
I'm really grateful for bike lanes. You can see here, they've got some concrete barriers up here. I'm thankful up on Bloor Street as well. They've got those bike lanes where the cars park outside the bike lanes, which actually protect the cyclists. I'm very grateful for this town planners, city planners, that are doing all kinds of stuff to make it safer and safer for bikes. I'm not only thankful for the bike lanes in Toronto, I'm particularly thankful they've just resurfaced Shaw. Look at Shaw, how beautiful that is. This is one of the bike lanes that I use the most in the city, and it used to be just a mess, but now they've resurfaced it this summer. I'm so grateful for that. One of the things I'm very grateful for in Toronto is the diversity of food that is available to us. Jamaican, Thai, Indian, it's such a great place to enjoy food. And this is one of my favorite places, Burrito Boys. I'm so grateful for a good burrito. I'm very grateful for Kensington Market. This is where all the cool kids hang out. I love coming down here, particularly in the summer. And I'm thankful for Graffiti Alley. Is this place cool or what? Check it out. Don't know what you can see in the shadows and stuff. You should come and check it out. Okay, this might seem kind of weird, but I was coming down Bathurst and I didn't realize the bridge here has been closed. Looks like they're doing some pretty major work. And I thought I was gonna have to go all the way around to get down to the lakeshore, but look at this. They have a footpath they left open. I am so grateful that someone thought ahead to leave a footpath open so I didn't have to go all the way around to get down to the lake. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but in Toronto, we actually are on a lake. There's this massive lake here that a lot of people don't seem to know much about. It's an incredible lake. This is the lookout point. Gee, I don't even know what this is called. I'm on the southwest corner of Ontario Place. This, for me, gives you the best lookout for a sunset in Toronto. Can you see it over my shoulder there? For all you guys looking for a romantic date, this is the place to come around sunset out here on Ontario Place. The lake offers so much. There's a beach just over here. You know, there's tons of beaches along Toronto, along Lake Ontario, and we actually have people in the city that monitor to make sure that the water's safe to swim in. Just another reason to be grateful for the things that we have in this wonderful city. So thankful for good lookouts for a nice romantic sunset. You know, in Toronto we have some wonderful places to get a great view of the city. This is just one of them. I think it's one of my favorite. We're right across from the Toronto Island Airport. Looking at the beautiful skyline, one of a dozen or at least a dozen different places in the city to get a good view of the skyline. So check this out. They closed down the Lakeshore Avenue East just so I could ride my bike. Isn't that great? God's been so good to me today, a beautiful day, and I've got the whole Lakeshore Avenue East to cycle on. I've invited a few friends. They can come down and cycle with me too if they want, but just another reason to be thankful. History of Toronto is something that's always fascinated me. In the background, you can see the Great Hall. That used to be the West End YMCA. That's where Tom Longboat trained. Tom Longboat was a world marathon champion in the early 1900s. In 1907, right here on Dover Court, he ran up and down the street as a promotional run before he was going off to win the Boston Marathon, which he won by over 5 minutes over the previous record. Tom Longboat, part of the history of West Toronto and part of the history of Dovercourt. There is the old YMCA, now called the Great Hall, right here at Dovercourt and Queen. Hey, just for a minute, can I take an opportunity to thank God for the beautiful trees that we have in Toronto? This is incredible. I read an article a while ago that of all the international cities in the world, Toronto is among the top in terms of tree coverage. Look at all the beautiful trees we have around here. This is just at Dovercourt and College. I hope you're enjoying the summer and sitting under the shade of a tree to enjoy these beautiful days, just like I am. Okay, one thing, if you live in Toronto, you've got to be thanking God for the parks. This is Dufferin Grove Park. You've heard me talk about this many times. You can see some of it in the background. My kids played soccer right over there in a soccer league. We go for our core skating party up over there. This is just a wonderful park, but I'll tell you what, this is just one of many in Toronto. Right in my neighborhood, we've got Earlscourt Park, Christie Park, Dufferin Park, Dovercourt Park, where we have our core barbecue all the time. Also, there's Campbell Park. So many great parks in Toronto. Hope that you get a chance to enjoy them this summer.
Hey everyone, it's James. Just in Toronto for a couple days visiting the family. I hope all is well with you guys. I hope you guys are staying safe. My father's asked me to read a passage here for you guys. Philippians 3, verses 1 to 14. Further, my brothers and sisters, rejoice in the Lord. It is no trouble for me to write the same thing to you, and it is a safeguard for you. Watch out for those dogs, those evildoers, those mutilators of the flesh. For it is we who are circumcision, we who serve God by his Spirit. We boast in Jesus Christ, and who put no confidence in the flesh. Though I myself have reasons for such confidence, if someone else thinks they have the reason to put confidence in the flesh, I have more. Circumcised on the 8th day of the people of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, a regard to the law, a Pharisee, as for zeal, persecuting the church, as for the righteousness based on the law of faultless. But whatever were gains to me, I now consider a loss for the sake of Christ. What is more, I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Jesus Christ, my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things. I consider them garbage, that I may gain Christ and be found in him, not having righteousness of my own that comes from the law, but the right which is through faith in Christ, the righteousness that comes from God on the base of faith. I want to know Christ, yes, to know the power of his resurrection and participation in his suffering, becoming like him in his death, and so somehow attaining the resurrection from the death. Not that I have already obtained all this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for Jesus Christ took hold of me. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead. I press on towards the goal to win, the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Jesus Christ. That is it. Hope everyone's doing well, and hope to see all you guys soon.
Thanks, James, for sharing that passage from Philippians 3. You'll see that this morning I'm coming to you from the Toronto Stock Exchange. I'm down here at 130 King Street. This is a place where a lot of fortunes are made and lost. To be honest, I don't know very much. I'm not much of a stock market kind of guy, but this is a place that people come if they want to invest some money. There's the stocks up there. There's signs of people that are making or losing money. I wanted to come down here because even though I don't want to talk to you about the stock market, I did want to talk to you about investment, about understanding the importance of a good investment and understanding the joy that that can actually bring. Even though I don't know a lot about the stock market, maybe I can share with you something of what I do know. I do know that if you want to invest some money, you would look into the stock market. You'd look for a company that is reliable, something that is really well run and might represent a good investment. And so you'd buy stock in that company. Over time, that stock would increase in value. And hopefully at some point, when you thought it was appropriate, you would sell that stock at a profit, or maybe you would get dividends, whatever. But you hope that an investment in the stock market is going to bring you gain over a period of time. I do know in the stock market, it's not a continual, like a linear thing. In the stock market, it goes up and down. That's why time is such an important issue in the stock market. You don't invest in the stock market if you want to make money for today or tomorrow. The stock market is something that you hang in there, because on a day-to-day basis, it's going up and down. But over time, if you've made a good investment, over time, that will go up and will produce a profit for you. That means that sometimes when your stock devalues, when it goes down for whatever reason, you want to be careful. That you don't want to sell it too quickly, because sometimes it might have gone down and it still might be a good investment. It might have nothing to do with the company, but what has happened is there's some sort of external event that has slowed down the stock market. For example, right now we're in COVID. Maybe you heard that during COVID, the stock market took a dip. It took a downturn. A lot of people lost a significant amount of value on their investments, as much as 30%, I understand. Now, that can be pretty discouraging, but I've understood that in the stock market, when there's a downturn, even when there's a crash, you don't want to panic. You still have your investment, but the value of it has gone down. However, if you sell it when it's down, that can lead to substantial losses, because after you sell it, it could go back up again. So you need to understand how to make a very good investment. When you've made a good investment, even in a time like COVID, when you've made a good investment, you don't panic. You don't have to worry. You've still got a good investment. Hang on to it, wait, and if history proves correct, and if it is a good company, you will find that the profit will come. Profit as in P-R-O-F, not like Elijah. Sorry. So again, in a downturn, an important principle of investment is don't panic. Now that's different if your company is not well run. If you find that the investment you've made in the stock market keeps going down, you might recognize you've made a bad investment. That is not the same thing as a simple downturn. If you made a bad investment, you want to get out as soon as possible, because if you stay in it for too long, your investment will be worthless. That's what happens with a bad investment. Over time, it proves that it has no value. Can you imagine, if you've got a bit of money and you put it away in the stock market, and you're hoping that one day you're going to be able to use that money and the profit that you make, you'll be able to take that out and maybe buy a home or finance a vacation, or maybe your retirement. Can you imagine how devastating it is when you realize that you've had that investment for so long, and then when you need it, when you go to get it, there's nothing there. It's worthless. It's an incredibly discouraging time when you realize that you've invested badly. Paul, the writer of Philippians, he was a really good investor. Paul had invested his life in something that was guaranteed. And that's why, even when things were tough, Paul could say, as he says here at the beginning of chapter 3, rejoice. He says it twice, rejoice, rejoice. He keeps talking about rejoicing and joy. Actually, just in these first couple of chapters, and now we're in chapter 3, but this is like the 9th time he's brought it up. In this short letter to the Philippians, he keeps talking about joy or rejoicing, because he's made a really good investment. You see, even when things are tough, good investors are really confident that, hey, things aren't good right now, but I've made a good investment. I can count on this. Paul, when he speaks about rejoicing, I want you to understand that rejoicing it's a verb. It's an action word. When he talks about rejoicing, that's not talking about, making up this feeling of happiness in you. Rejoicing is something you do. He's talking about engaging your faith in Christ. You do this through worship. You do this through testimony. You do this through prayer. You do this, again, through thanksgiving. When we express thanksgiving, that is a way of us rejoicing, recognizing what God is doing. Paul speaks about the fact that we need to rejoice. He repeats it over and over because it's important. You know, I want you to always be remembering that Paul writes these words when he's in prison. He's actually in chains as he writes this. But he's saying, you see, if you're well invested, it doesn't matter what circumstances you're in, you can still experience joy. You still need to be remembering to rejoice. If you got some money you're looking to invest, I would suggest maybe coming down here to 103 King Street. Find yourself a stockbroker, see if you can get rich. I don't know any of those guys. I can't help you with that. But if you're really looking to invest your life well, I would really point you to the words of Paul here in Philippians chapter 3, to a guy who found out that coming to know Jesus in a deeper way was worth anything that it was going to cost. I know some people, they come near the end of their life and think, hey, you know, I've arrived. I just think it's wonderful here that Paul says, hey, I'm not there yet. I'm going to keep striving for the prize. Whatever stage of life you're in right now, I want to tell you, you have the opportunity to discover what Paul discovered. This is an invitation. Paul has discovered that even though his life may be coming to an end, it is worth it to keep striving after this prize, to know Jesus in a deeper and more significant way. And this passage, this is an invitation for me and you to do the same.